My father always played a lot of albums growing up, and as a kid, we were in band all through grade school, middle school, high school. Played multiple instruments. Focused mostly on the saxophone during high school, and then I saw "Hot for the Teacher" with Eddie Van Halen, and that was it. I borrowed a guitar and an amp from a friend, and got an instructional video. We didn't have YouTube back then, and I picked it up quick. And then, not soon after in college, I was introduced in "Surfing with an Alien" by Joe Satriani, and that's when I decided that's what I want to do. I want to make instrumental albums, instrumental music, and I wanted to learn everything there was I could about the instrument of guitar and music and theory and how to create a lot like Joe did, and multiple works, all sounding different and so forth. What does your latest release represent for you personally? Is there a deeper story or message behind it? So the latest release, Jaded, which came out in September of 25, came from several years of really not playing. I had an apartment fire, which I lost most of my equipment, and then I had a breakup from a relationship, a fiance, and I decided to buy a house on the lake, and it was a fixer-upper. So I spent like 7 years working on that every day after work. So I would teach school during the day and work on that in the evenings and weekends. So in between times of doing that, I would find the time to record a little idea here and there. Not very often, but after years, I had a whole bunch of these little ideas on my phone that I recorded. And so I sold the lake house and retired from teaching, moved home to help my parents. They're elderly. And just out of necessity, thought I need to do something just creative, And so I started recording, and I would bring in those little snippets. And from those little snippets, I would expand them and make those into the songs that are on this album. So that's pretty much the reason why Jaded and why that became the album title. Let's see. How would you describe your sound to someone who has never heard your music before? I've been called Joe Satriani on steroids. So if you like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, that kind of instrumental music, lots of key changes, lots of technical, creative stuff, then you will like me, I'd say. Of course, I don't compare myself to Joe Satriani or any of those guys. They're, way up there. But that's the style of music. I do have some vocal stuff on other CDs, and I do have 3 coming up on my next release. But, my main focus, one, is just to be creative. That was the whole thing with, that I liked about Joe, was just creativity. Every song sounds completely different. Every song has a different mood or feeling. I even don't even like to use the same licks in multiple songs. I will try to be creative and come up with whole new ideas and licks that I've never used and I've never used on other songs, where a lot of people will just use the same old, licks over and over, especially in their older years. But I try to be creative. So if you like creative instrumental music, you'll probably like it. What has been the biggest challenge or breakthrough moment in your career so far? Well, so far, I'm in Jackson, Kentucky right now, and I've played out a little bit years ago in Lexington. But other than that, just recording and having an album with multiple songs, and they all sound different. It's very creative and very technical. And I've been blessed to have a lot of great musicians play on my stuff over the years. I had 8 bass players from all over the world on the last album, and 3 different drummers from all over the country. And on this album, I've got James Pulley, who plays bass for Kristen Pelletieri and plays in AC/DC tribute band. And they just toured with Zach Sabbath, and he plays bass on this album. I'm going to try to get Stu Hamm on the next album on a song with Greg Howe, who's agreed to play on the next album. But on this album, I've got Michelangelo Badio, who was somebody who I would watch their videos and learn from when I was growing up. Same with Ron Bumblefoot Thal, who played with Guns N' Roses, but to me is one of the best instrumentalists alive, technical players, creative players. And then the legend Tony McAlpine. I mean, Shrapnel Records, Shredder, who also probably a better keyboard player than he is guitar, and toured with Steve Vai's band. So just the fact that I've got these guys that agree to play on my stuff is just, it's almost hard to believe, because when I ask them, I'm expecting a no. We don't know who you are, but they agreed. They listened to the track, and so it's humbling to get these guys to play on my music. So that's where I'm at now, because I can't leave here for now. So getting to record and getting these legends to agree to play on it is probably my biggest achievement so far. If you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why? Well, Eddie, of course. He's gone. I'd say, and I've got some greats on this one. I got Greg Howe coming up, and of course, to my favorites, some of my Malmsteen, of course. I don't think he collaborates a lot, but Joe Satriani, of course, Steve Vai. I know Steve Vai collaborates on some guy's stuff. But yeah, Joe Satriani would be awesome, just because he was the one that inspired all of this. He would be the one I would love to get on a song. I couldn't afford him, but if I could, he would be one of the ones, Joe Satriani.